tonight. The illegal drug trade is back at the National Penitentiary. That's according to President Rodrigo Duterte. The military confirms at least 2 soldiers were killed and 11 wounded in a so-called friendly fire in Marawi City. And move over Psy and his Gangnam Style, there's a new king of YouTube. Good evening, I'm Mitzi Borromeo. It's at the top of President Rodrigo Duterte's order of battle. Now he confirms illegal drugs are back at the National Penitentiary. The president also issues a strong warning against drug syndicates who are operating again. Our senior correspondent Ina Andolong has the story.
It was a problem the administration dealt with early on in President Duterte's term, but now it's back. President Duterte says drug syndicates are operating again from inside the National Penitentiary. Speaking at the 26th anniversary celebration of the Bureau of Jail Management and Penology, he promised to institute reforms, but wasn't clear on what these would be. He did point to a culprit that has been making it easy for dealers to operate, the cell phone. He even had a unit with him. He minced no words for inmates who will be found with them.
Pati ito, hintuin talaga natin ito. Nakikinig mo yung taga Muntinlupa ngayon. Ito, I don't know if it's edible, maybe the plastic. Pag may nakita pa ako, hindi ako, pag umpisa ko, pag may nakita akong plastic dyan, yun ang kakainin mo sa araw na yan. Wala kang konsumong kanin. Ito, kaya prituhin mo o inununan, bahala ka. Basta you will eat it.
Apart from drug syndicates, many other problems continue to confront the country's jail facilities. Overcrowding is one of them. The BJMP says the congestion rate is now at 589%. Congestion leads to health and sanitation problems for inmates. President Duterte promised to help address this by significantly increasing the BJMP's budget in the 3rd year of his term. He said he wants to prioritize the needs of the police force first. The president also had strong words for human rights advocates who will continue to criticize him for violating the rights of inmates who he said should be placed in isolation if necessary.
Huwag ka maniwala na bawal yung Bartolina. Hindi daw bawal yung Bartolina. Gusto magsosyalan. Anong klase yan? Kaya nga kinulong mo yung yan eh. The only thing that we have to do is cut him off from the rest of the world. So yung Bartolina yun, kung may magpunta doon human rights, sabihin mo yan ang sabi ni Duterte. Pag magyaw-yaw, pasok mo siya doon.
The president made it clear, though the jail system needs help, he would rather prioritize the needs of people who have not killed others or committed serious crimes. Ina Andolong, CNN Philippines.
President Duterte also wants to reinstate Superintendent Marvin Marcos. Marcos is relieved as chief of the Criminal Investigation and Detection Group in Eastern Visayas for his supposed involvement in the killing of Albuera Leyte mayor and alleged drug lord Rolando Espinosa. Marcos is out on bail after charges against him were downgraded from murder to homicide. Mr. Duterte says Marcos is presumed innocent. He adds if criminals are getting this treatment, then it should be the same for accused government workers. Here's the president in his own words.
Ngayon si Marcos, suspended. Hindi suspended siya. Tapos na ang suspension. Sabi ko, ibalik niyo sa trabaho yung mama na yan. Wala naman doon yan eh. He was too far away. He was not part of the raiding team. Sabi nila, may kaso, anso, yung criminal, sabihin mo, presumption of innocence. Ang gobyerno, hindi mo... Why is it that stupid rational there? Alam mo, sir, yung criminal, buhayin mo because, alam mo, presumption of innocence. No? Pagdating ng taga-gobyerno, ang kung ano-ano na lang pagsasabihin ninyo. Tabla!
We have this developing story in Marawi. The military says 2 soldiers were killed by weapon fire coming from their side. The incident happened when an ordnance missed its target noon today. 11 others suffered minor wounds. Let's get more details from Colonel Edgar Arevalo, AFP Public Affairs Office Chief. Good evening, sir. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Good evening, Michi.
Sir, I
Good evening to your
understand.
televiewers.
Yes, thank you, sir. Good evening. Thank you again for joining us. Would you tell us what the initial investigation shows? What have you found? What exactly happened?
Well, according to the initial investigation that we had so far and the sketchy reports that reached our office at Campo Aguinaldo, we were told that there was an airstrike conducted around 12 noon today. And one of the ordnance that were delivered by our aircraft in support of our ground troops missed its target. And it hit the structures in the area. And since these structures are mostly heavily built buildings, the heavy debris fell on 2 of our soldiers who died, who succumbed to death in that particular incident. Meanwhile, 11 others were wounded, and those were minor shrapnel wounds, though. They are all ambulatory and are now recuperating in the hospital.
All right, so again, we'll just clarify that. So the 2 who died were actually a result of being hit by the debris. This wasn't
That's right.
directly
That's right.
by the explosion. Sir, and how are the men doing? I mean, obviously, it's a difficult time. Morale must be low. What are you hearing from them on the ground to
Well,
make sure also we avoid this?
it's a sad day for us. We have been gaining grounds in our fight against the Mauti ISIS group when this happened, but our soldiers understand that this happens from time to time during combat operations like this that uses our other assets of government. But we are firm in our conviction. The morale of our troops remain high. They continue to press on to the target so that we'll be able to liberate Marawi from the terrorist ISIS group in the soonest time possible.
All right, I know you have a lot of work ahead of you. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us tonight. And for sure, we'll be in touch with you again. Thank you again, Colonel Edgar Arevalo, AFP Chief Public Affairs Office.
Thank you, and let's keep praying for our troops. Good
Yes,
evening.
sir. Our thoughts are with you. The Department of Education is asking for donations of school desks for children displaced by the conflict in Marawi. Education Secretary Leonor Briones says the lack of desks is a concern in schools in Iligan City, which accepted several students from Marawi. Based on DepEd data, the crisis displaced over 23,000 students. Briones says they're providing psychosocial services to affected students and teachers.
We're also starting programs to give psychosocial assistance to the children, the evacuees, those who are living in the temporary learning shelters with their families.
Briones says she's joining President Duterte and other cabinet officials should they visit Marawi. As the Marawi crisis leaves a trail of destruction and suffering, many are willing to help the victims. I spoke to some artists who bring together art, music, and heritage in a call for peace and unity.
Sisimulan natin mag-isip ng kapayapaan sa Marawi.
Artist and musician Waway Saway of the Talaandig tribe from Bukidnon, Mindanao, says this is his group's tribute to their Maranao family caught in the misery of the Marawi crisis. This is what it sounds like when people come together calling for peace and unity amidst the Marawi crisis, all born out of love for country and love for humanity.
I thought that through art and music, we can actually send out there in the universe a sense of peace, a call for peace, and in our own little way, come up with this gathering for the greater good.
Actress Cherie Hill spearheaded this fundraising event to benefit Marawi victims, tapping the artistry of the Talaandig tribe she has grown to know and love in Bukidnon. She met them through her cousin, Rene Araneta Perain of the Hinalaban Foundation, which focuses on environmental restoration and sustainable livelihood of indigenous people in Mindanao.
We've been doing all our efforts of reforestation and livelihood programs and food security with the 7 tribes of Bukidnon.
Hinalaban Foundation helped broker peace among those tribes, including the Talaandig. Their stories are etched in these beautiful soil paintings and music instruments by Talaandig artists, auctioned off as part of fundraising efforts for Marawi victims.
Dahil musikiro ako, ito na kaya ulo na may gitara. Dito naman, kalabasa ng gitara. Gusto ko kasi ipakita sa mundo na lahat ng bagay ay may tunog. Lahat ng bagay ay may musika.
Hill says we can all do a little to help bring peace. She's overwhelmed with emotion at the love and appreciation shown by everyone gathered together and is grateful for like-minded advocates who helped make this happen.
Tonight is a celebration of unity, and I feel that these stories need to be shared and told, and we're bringing them to a marketplace that can afford to be generous and contribute.
This gathering is just the beginning of the group's efforts to raise awareness and support for Mindanao, inspiring more people to help bring about peace in their own little way.
Unity for the Philippines. Cheers, everybody.
Here are some top stories from around the world. The U.S. military successfully tested its $40 billion missile defense system Tuesday. The U.S. Missile Defense Agency says the Terminal High Altitude Area Defense System, or THAAD, shot down a target over Alaska. The system uses radar and interceptors launched from trucks to shoot down short, medium, and intermediate ballistic missiles. Some analysts say it's like shooting down a bullet with another bullet. A U.S. defense official tells CNN the test is not related to North Korea's recent long-range missile launch. And the United States and Qatar signed a memorandum of understanding outlining ways Qatar could strengthen its fight against terrorism. The announcement came at a joint news conference between the top Qatari and U.S. diplomats. U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson says the accord might help resolve the dispute between Qatar and its Persian Gulf neighbors. And the White House confirms U.S. President Donald Trump's state visit to the United Kingdom was moved to next year. This comes days after Mr. Trump met with British Prime Minister Theresa May at the G20 summit in Germany, where Mr. Trump told reporters he would be visiting London. There was no explanation for the delay. Earlier this year, more than 1.8 million people signed a petition seeking to block the trip over fears that it would, quote, cause embarrassment to Her Majesty the Queen. Former Senator Bongbong Marcos is out to prove an alleged anomaly in the 2016 elections. An alleged anomaly in last year's elections. Speaking to the source, Marcos claims this was the reason for his defeat to Leni Robredo in the vice presidential race. He claims there are close to 4 million undervotes for the vice presidency.
That there were votes that disappeared, that were not counted. And, you take a little here, you take a little there, before you know it, we're talking 4 million votes. And we feel that that's what happened. And so that's why even those areas, we feel, because we get the reports, especially when we're talking about the northern Philippines, regions 1, region 2, all the Ilocano areas, even down south in Mindanao, we have a very good idea of what the results were as reported by the locals, by the local officials, by the local candidates, and those and their local, admittedly unofficial reports do not correlate with the official count, and so again there is clearly there are undervotes. Essentially, what we are going to prove in our protest is that there was an extra, as they call, there was an extra server that we did not know about. That is not actually allowed in the rules. That is actually illegal. Now the COMELEC to this day has not yet has said that it doesn't exist, but Smartmatic has already admitted that there were not only one extra server, but maybe 2, maybe more extra servers. I have no idea about the counter-protest of Mrs. Robredo, but as far as we are concerned, we are very confident that these allegations that we are making can be proven.
Meanwhile, Robredo's lawyer refutes Marcos's claim about the supposed 4 million undervotes. Bernadette Sardillo says this is inaccurate.
Yun pong sinasabi niyang undervotes ay sa ano po yan sa bilangan ng balota. Yung nagpapabukas siya ng 3 probinsya at sinasabi niya na doon ay makaka-recover siya. Hindi ko po alam kung saan niya nakuha ang kanyang datos na kung ilan man bilang na boto. Bilang po undervote yun. Kasi kung undervote, paano po mabibilang para sa kanya yan? Kasi ang ibig sabihin nun, walang boto, wala ni isang kandidato para sa pagka-presidente ang binoto ng botante. Pag blanco ba yun, ay bibilangin para sa kanya? Wala nga boto. Hindi po accurate yun, mawalang galang na po kay Ginoong Marcos.
Senators are challenging the Finance Department. Is a proposed tax reform bill indeed pro-poor? That as the Senate Committee on Ways and Means resumes its deliberations on the bill that was approved by the lower house. Cecil Ardizabal reports.
Would you like to say something?
The president's wish for a swift passage of the tax reform bill faces an uphill climb at the Senate. The Department of Finance says it is a pro-poor program. It will lower the personal income tax of regular wage earners, and no tax will be charged if they earn under 250,000 pesos a year. But Senator Cynthia Villar, a real estate magnate, raises opposition to imposing taxes for housing units valued at 3 million pesos, pointing out that more than half of those who buy houses in the country are OFWs. Villar chides finance officials and expresses doubts on the rationalization of the country's budget while crafting new tax measures.
Bakit nyo tatanggalin so that you can give more to the DBM? Make sure na yung binibigay nyo sa DBM nagagasta ng maganda kasi from my observation, it's not.
Senate Committee on Ways and Means Chairman Sonny Angara shares Villar's views.
Karamihan sa amin ay magiging hesitant para buwisan yung pabahay. Tingin ko ngayon, dadaan sa butas ng karayom yun.
President Duterte has earlier said the tax reform bill will allow the government to finance its massive infrastructure projects and increase the budget for health, education, and social programs. Senator J.V. Ejercito is not convinced on the proposed additional taxes on sweetened beverages, as well as higher taxes for new cars and fuel.
If you impose taxes on fuel, this would definitely create a domino effect, no? Sigurado ko na all the prices of commodities will go up. Kaya direct hit ito eh.
Finance Secretary Sonny Dominguez did not attend the hearing. His undersecretary shares her thoughts.
We are always looking and we're listening to the suggestions of the senators.
Cecil Ardizabal, CNN Philippines.
Agriculture Secretary Manny Piñol admits a so-called garlic cartel does exist. He says this group has been causing the spike in garlic prices in past months. On Wednesday, Piñol announced that he's blacklisting 43 companies which only imported a small amount of garlic, some not at all, despite being issued an importation permit. Piñol says this led to a shortage in the supply of garlic and eventually the price surge. But he insists agriculture officials are not involved in the garlic cartel.
Because ang naging problema ngayon, hindi yung indiscriminate issuances of SPS, kundi ayaw mag-import. Director Mamaril is a decent public official. We will not allow them to import anymore because at the time when we needed them to import, they did not import. This is the first indication na may cartel.
The Agriculture Department reports that local farmers produce only 7% of the total garlic consumption. The remaining 93% is imported. After meeting with transport regulators, Grab Philippines says it will no longer activate new drivers. In a statement posted on his Facebook page, Grab Philippines country head Brian Koo explains this is to comply with LTFRB rules. He says those who intend to join the platform may still sign up and be trained, but won't be activated. Koo adds they will be contacted when the moratorium is lifted. Cigarette maker Japan Tobacco International, or JTI, is buying Mighty Corporation for 45 billion pesos. According to a statement from the Finance Department, JTI will also provide an interim loan so the troubled cigarette maker can pay off its tax liabilities. Mighty is asking the government if it can settle its 3 tax cases worth 38 billion pesos by paying 25 billion pesos by July 20 instead. Mighty President Oscar Barrientos is also pledging to retire all company operations once the deal with JTI is sealed. Mighty is accused of failing to pay excise taxes and using fake tax stamps on